Yeah, it's basically goes all the way around the national park, essentially.
Okay.
So it's a well-known route and it's beautiful. You're getting up to, I think, 3,300 feet was the highest point.
Okay.
Usually, this is not something you can do in the winter. Usually, it's so deep under snow that just can't be done. Like I said, when we tried to do it in basically May, we couldn't get up to Dust Point because there's just so much snow up there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this was wild that in mid-February, we were able to do this big loop. It was a 40-mile loop that we did from Wynoochee on this route and then went back to Wynoochee all through gravel roads. You have tuned in to Remote Trails Radio, where your hosts, Garrick and Melody, take you off the beaten path into the world of overlanding, life in the Pacific Northwest, and whatever the heck else we feel like chatting about. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's hit the trails together.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Melody.
And I'm Garrick.
And this is Remote Trails Radio. Today we're going to be talking about some updates from previous episodes. We're going to hear about Garrick's overlanding winter camping near Wynoochee River, a little bit about the perfect winter setup, maybe about what we do at the end of the day when we're overlanding. We're going to be talking about exploring the area around the South Olympics, what to do if you have a broken window, and then we're going to get to random recommendations. Okay, we have some updates from previous episodes. Garrick, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so this is not an update I want to give, Melody, but this is how life goes sometimes. We had Beth as our lovely guest on episode 34. And on that episode, we talked about her adorable dog, Cameron, who we refer to endearingly by Roo as his most common of nicknames. As a dog owner, I'm sure Melody dogs have many nicknames, but that was his most used of all of them. Out of the blue, Cameron got sick, passed away very recently. So I just wanted to give sort of an ode to Roo. He was such a good dog. He was the big brother to Ryder in many ways. And Ryder's a little punk, and Roo is a real stately dog. And
very patient.
Yeah, would kind of show Ryder how to actually do things correctly. And it would be really cute because Ryder would be so excited to see Beth and Cameron. And Beth would pick up Ryder and put Ryder in the back of her 4Runner with Cameron, and they would hang out, and Ryder would be over the moon back there. And on trail rides, specifically, there was something I would call Roo Tube, where you'd be driving behind Beth, and Roo would just be sitting in their back, just kind of staring out at you. So I'm watching some Roo Tube on this trip. So, yeah. And then there was one specific trip where I think it was the whiskey trip where it was just Nick, Beth, and I were camping. And this was so long ago, I'm not even sure if I had Ryder then, but I think that was the period where Jenny had passed away. So I didn't have a dog at the time. So Roo was the only dog. And Nick and I were just like playing with Cameron a lot. And he was actually fetching all this stuff. And we had a good time. And I think that's where we had a real good chance of bonding with him specifically. So did you have any thoughts about Roo, Melody?
Roo was great. I really enjoyed driving behind Beth with the back hatch down, like you said, and Roo is hanging out. I feel like it was just like that perfect Toyota commercial of exactly what that back window rolling down was for.
Right.
To give him some fresh air so he could sniff all around. Yeah. Definitely going to miss that.
Definitely, absolutely. He will be missed. He was a member of our overlanding crew, and we're down a member. He's not the only member we've lost recently, so it's with heavy hearts we have to say goodbye to Roo. But it was absolutely a pleasure to know him, and it'll be interesting to see what Beth does in the future.
Much love to Beth.
Yep. Okay, so that was the tough stuff. Let's get to the light stuff. I believe you have an episode update as well, Melody.
My update could not be any lighter and very shallow. I was just going to update that I had poo-pooed OfferUp on our last episode, and man, was I wrong. It worked. So Maybe I should give less bad reviews. This may be the moral of the story.
It's good to know that Facebook Marketplace hasn't completely consumed all the competitors so far.
Not yet. All right, Garrick, let's get to the good stuff. I really wanted to hear about your weekend because you guys went winter camping. It is pretty cold out there these nights. It's sitting around 34 degrees in the city. So I was wondering how you guys fared and what did you get up to on your adventure?
We're recording on President's Day, so it was a long weekend. Shannon, he's sort of the expert of Wynoochee Lake area. He's
That he is,
hosted
yeah.
several trips there, and he knows about many different dispersed camping spots that are in that area. And he's had like a chili cook-off in the past and whatnot. So Shannon actually, I think he had Friday off too. He went up on Friday and got a spot and was just kind of solo camping there. Then Doug and I joined him on Saturday. And I'll admit, when Shannon said he was doing this, I've been to Wynoochee area during the winter, and it has been just a song fest sometimes. And it's like, if it's going to be dry, I'm interested. If it's wet, I don't know. But it ended up being absolutely gorgeous weather. It was like super sunny both Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we've had a weird winter, so it was just somehow out of the blue. It was just amazing. Maybe the first thing I might want to talk about is the setup that Shannon had, because it did rain a lot on the Friday night.
Okay.
He was there solo on Friday night in the rain. So if you were in that situation, what would you do to make that enjoyable?
Stay in the car.
Right?
I have no awning and I'm pretty boring. I have no way to shelter from the rain. I guess I do have that gazebo, which unfortunately it's hard to know for that company what you're actually buying because they have so many versions of the same thing. And I think what I ended up buying was a smidge too big. So what that does is adds on an extra foot onto the length, and the length that you can't collapse. So it is something that is very hard for me to bring on trips because in the Forerunner, it goes from the front of the front seat all the way to the back hatch.
Right.
And the one that Shannon has is like a foot shorter. So it's a little bit easier to carry around. But that's probably what I would bring because we did that on our first Vancouver Island trip. And it did really well for us in the rain and with the bugs.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys
exactly
had?
it. Shannon had his smaller size. I don't know what their sizing levels are, but this one
I think it goes by person.
Oh, really?
I think it's
Okay.
6 or 8 people.
Yeah, I think his would be 4 comfortably in like camp chairs. You could do comfortably 4 people. So that'd be my guess as far as the size, but that would need confirmation.
Okay.
It was great for 3 of us. Like, it was plenty of room for the 3 of us. So he had that set up, and he had a buddy heater hooked up to either like he had 1-gallon refillable propane canisters, like they're called propane kegs. And then he also has a 5-pound. If I said gallon before, I meant pound. He had the 1-pound kegs, and then he has the 5-pounder as well. And that works really well. Like, it gets really nice and toasty in there because it was cold, right? At night, it was at or below freezing. And then during the day, it was maybe low 40s at best. But the spot he has is this really epic spot that's right at the confluence of a creek and the Wynoochee River.
Ooh.
So it's really beautiful, and you're surrounded by water on both sides. And it actually kind of feels like you're on an island because the creek kind of goes around where you're camping. It's usually dry all the way, but this time, because there's just so much water flow and whatnot, you actually had to go over just a tiny little bit of water. But it's really beautiful, but also because you have all that flowing water all around you, it's colder, right? Because that's putting water into the air, and that just makes things feel colder, which is really, during the summer, that's great because you want to cool things down.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But during the winter, that means that it's colder, and then everything will be frosted up the next morning if it's below freezing overnight. So you have to be aware of that.
Yeah. So what hours exactly were you spending in the gazebo? Are you guys getting in at 3 p.m. and then staying in there until 8? Or what does that look like?
Well, as far as I understand it, Shannon was in his gazebo most of Friday evening. And then I think I arrived around 3 p.m. on Saturday. I think it was so gorgeous when we arrived. We weren't inside of it at all because it was dry. We actually just did a campfire. So basically, when you don't have a fire going, it's really useful to have that. So I think Monday morning was really a good example of that, where I woke up and it was very cold and I had to put some things away in my car. And then I have Raynaud's, so my fingers get really cold really fast and I lose feeling in them. So it was nice because I was able to like jump into there, heat up my hands next to the buddy heater and be in a warm space, and also leave Ryder in there too, right? Because Ryder was like, oh, cool, nice warm space. I'll just hang out in here. Yeah, it was useful for whenever you don't have a fire. So like early morning, if you don't have a morning fire going yet, whatnot, it's good for that. And I know that Shannon during the daytime would kind of go in there and play video games, read, and that sort of thing. So it's just a nice hangout spot to have as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did anyone else have anything wintry that they set up as well to kind of make it more comfortable, or?
Yeah, so Shannon and Doug both have diesel heaters. So that's what they were running to keep their rigs warm for
Mm-hmm.
both sleeping. And then we would kind of retire to our respective sleeping areas around 9 p.m. And for me, I'm just going to bed. I'm just going into my swag and falling asleep.
I
But
was gonna say, did you have the swag?
yep, sure did.
Okay.
But it sounded like they go in and they watch movies or something, which that's another thing that's setup wise that we all had, which was kind of funny, is that we all had our Starlinks on this trip.
Oh, stop it. You guys are streaming? Get out of here.
Well, I'd never streamed once, but yeah,
That's so funny. Were you guys all testing it or they were using it because they wanted to stream?
well, it was useful for Shannon, right? Because like he could get there and then he had service to be able via the Starlink, so he could tell us exactly which spot he found. So he was able
Oh,
to turn
that's
that
so
on,
nice.
right?
Yeah.
There's legitimate reasons more than just,
Mm-hmm.
entertainment. So for me, I wanted to test it. I definitely didn't need to have service there, but I hadn't really used it. So I was like, okay, this is my real chance. And I found out that I gave bad advice on the episode. I think it was 33, whichever episode we talked about it.
Oh no. You know
Yeah,
what's bad about giving bad advice on this is that we can't like go back and I guess we could edit it
I
out.
guess we
But
could.
like
Yeah.
what do you do, right? You're like
Yeah.
you gave the
Just
best
keep
information you
listening.
had at the
Yeah.
time.
Well, it's just like any news broadcast, right? Like the list issue corrections. So this is a correction. Maybe it's a new segment,
Ooh.
corrections. We were wrong before. So I had mentioned, oh, pause your account right away. And I thought what would happen when you pause your account, my misunderstanding was that your trial would end and then you would go into standby mode, but that's not what happens.
Oh no.
It just stops it. So however many days I had left, I still had, which sounds fine and good, but it's not good because when I tried to start it up, it's like, oh, you don't have Starlight because you don't have an active subscription, which is true because it's paused. And so I like wanted to unpause it. And you're like, okay, well, you need to sign in for that. And then when I wanted to sign in, it's well, you need to do two-factor authentication. And I'm like, well, if I don't have internet, how am I going to do this second factor? Figure out how to do
Oh,
this.
interesting.
Right. So I feel like you're out in the field and you have a pause subscription, you're screwed. So you definitely have to unpause it before you get out into the field. Otherwise, you could run into that problem. For me, it was a solvable problem for a couple of different ways. Like obviously the other two guys had their Starlink, so I just jumped onto Doug's Starlink and then got the 2FA and then logged in and was able to fix it. Alternatively, though, if I didn't have somebody else's Starlink, what I could have done is I have an iPhone and the iPhone has the satellite SMS. So I could have used SMS as my second factor authentication, used the satellite via the iPhone to get it. So I would have been fine either way. But it was also just a lot of annoyance to have when you're out there in the cold, right? So it's nice to have that all ahead of time. So what I'm not sure about is how I don't actually know at this point in time because I literally just got back my trip a couple hours ago, but I don't actually know how to get to the standby mode. Does my like trial just run out and then I just get an option to switch subscriptions? I don't really know. So
I thought it was a little
out.
bit like Netflix where you can kind of choose your subscription service and it will go to that at the end. However, from a trial, I don't think that you can go to standby. I think you have to have at least 1 month full paid.
Interesting.
Which is like $50. And as long as you have 1 month full paid, that kind of makes you a citizen, like a Starlink citizen. And then you can, my own words, not theirs. Yeah. And then you can then go standby.
Yeah.
My understanding is it is pay for play. So you do have to pay into at least 1 month.
Okay, interesting. But that'll be interesting also to find out what that first month ends up being because my trial was at the 50 gig level, but that doesn't exist anymore. Now it's like 100. So I don't know if after the trial, I'm going to have to pay for a 50 gig or the 100. No, we'll find out. So
I love that you guys are working this all out before I start it. Yeah. I still haven't even turned it on yet. I don't even know if it works. It's just this piece of plastic that kind of sits in my house.
Well, so the other thing that was interesting about the Starlink is that it has the ability to heat itself because we were running this in cold temperatures. It can't run if it's not like heated because Doug ran into a scenario where he had it off for a while and he had it on top of his rig and it was so cold that it just wouldn't even start up. It wouldn't boot.
Oh, no, that's where I was thinking of putting it.
Yeah, so you can do it because it has the ability to heat itself, but it has to be powered on to do that, right? It also has like a snow melting mode. So if you're out like on an RV and you're expecting like to have a lot of snow coming down, you can have this like preheat mode, I guess is what it's called. So then as the snow's hitting, it's just melting off of it.
Does it have a sock? Can you make a sock for it so that it has a little cozy?
Yeah, I'm sure you could do something like that. Or if you had like a heating pad or something, if it was like more efficient than its own system, you could certainly do that.
Okay.
You're making me think of like my jar that I have for kombucha making, where I have got a little wrap around it that's a heating wrap.
I know. I have a feeling if I told my mom that my Starlink needs like some sort of outfit, she's gonna make one of it. You know what I mean? From like some leftover fabric.
Yeah. Well, now again, this is only for like when you're really down in the cold, like below freezing. So how often are you doing that, right? That's kind of my thought. It's like,
fair enough, Garrick.
yeah.
You know that I don't go out in the snow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but if you are doing that, then be aware that you need to be cognizant of that. I did leave mine on overnight, so it just automatically kept itself at the temperature it needed to, but it does consume more power that way. So you have to be aware of that. But otherwise, the Starlink, other than those issues, it works just flawlessly. It works a little too good. So at one point, Shannon's like, "Are you guys Starlinking?" You're not gonna like.
Were you guys texting each other from your respective sleeping areas?
No, I guess I just went to sleep when I went in there. But it was at one point we were just kind of hanging out in his gazebo, and
it made me wonder, what do people do when they're overlanding and they're about to go to bed? Everybody has their different choices, right? But I remember in Nevada when we were there. Remember the boys? You guys were like, "No, we're gonna stick it out and we're gonna drive to this plateau and then we're gonna sleep there in the high wind." And then Ann and I were like, "Man, we're getting a hotel room. This sucks." We were like, "Oh my God, hot water. There's a shower. We have 4 walls. We can hang out." We had spa time. We put on face masks. And then we were like fiddling with the fridge. We're like trying to get that going for her again. And that was really fun. But we were texting you guys pictures. I remember it's like late at night and we're texting you photos of us
that
like
was
having a spa day.
Yeah. For me, the experience of that crazy wind was totally worth it. Like, it was so ridiculous. Like, I had to tie my swag down so tight because I was like going to get blown off immediately if I didn't do that. It's heavy. Like, it does not move unless it's really strong wind.
Right.
Yeah. And then I think I sent you guys a video back of me just like from the view of my swag. It's just like,
it just really validated our decision. I think it was what it was. Like, that $100 was worth it.
Yeah, for me, hey, that's the type of experience I'm out there to get, right? When do I get that kind of crazy experience? So that was
glad you have that kind of optimism. I think Ann and I would have really not been in a very good mood the next day. We've been made to sit out there.
Well, I'm glad it worked out for everybody.
Well, that's good that you guys had a positive view of it. Because when you came in for breakfast the next morning,
well, I'm just speaking for myself.
Like you guys were like,
I don't know about them.
Haggard.
I don't know about them, but
okay, true.
That's just my view, anyways.
Nice to be an optimist. Okay, cool. Well, let's see. Winter setup was golden. Everybody had their strategy, and the Gazelle kind of brought you guys together. So that was definitely the highlight.
Absolutely.
Nice. And tip, make sure it's still up in the morning so that you guys can warm your hands.
Yep.
All right. And then bring a Starlink if you have it. Make sure it's not in pause mode by the time you get there.
Yeah.
And were you able to try anything else that you have been wanting to try? I know last episode you had been talking about your new very expensive cargo plate and fridge slide that you got. Were you able to use those on this trip?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple updates from that. So actually, I remember as we were talking about it, you had looked up the prices and they were higher than I thought. And I was like, oh, maybe like the 5th gen's just higher. But then I looked at the 3rd gen, and the 3rd gens are higher too. So the prices must have gone up in 2026. So
that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I lucked out just
you got it right at the right time.
Yeah. Thank you, Muffler, for burning my cargo at the right time.
And Alex gave you a deal. That's good.
I actually looked up it's Brian. I had his name wrong, so apologies. Apologies to Brian.
We're just righting our wrongs today on this. This
corrections.
Episode.
That's what I'm saying. Corrections. It's a new segment. Maybe that. Okay, so actually, this is a good time. So we are.
Are you going to admit anything else? Okay.
Well, no. Well, I just had an idea, just as we're talking on the fly here. So we have been building out a Patreon. It's very early stage right now, so we're trying to figure out what to offer there. We do have just sort of support level right now for $2 a month. Just want to be there and support us, which is highly appreciated. But we're also thinking of what else can we like do as value adds, and maybe like a corrections episode could be kind of fun, like every quarter or something. Like, here's all the things we were wrong about, and we're sorry. Just keep
so many things.
List.
We have like a very long list. Oh boy. We need some
But
disclaimer, maybe. Just some disclaimer that
we
we're
don't
not
know.
experts. We
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what we're talking
We're just
about. Good luck.
enthusiasts. Yeah. We're just some people on a podcast. But yeah, I got to test out the fridge slide and the cargo plate. That was kind of fun because actually I was planning on getting to Wynoochee earlier than I got there, but I was like spending so much time sort of putting cargo attachments points down and trying to figure out how to strap down my River 2 Pro behind the fridge. So that was just taking a lot of like nerd time as I was getting that figured out. But that was awesome. It's so cool because there's just so many places where you can attach down the little cargo points and figure it out. So I was able to get the power station aligned in a really nice place. So I'll probably play around with different configurations, but at least that was like a good first try. The one thing I noticed just kind of driving around even before this trip, though, was that the fridge side was really loud. It was just rattling pretty loud back there. So I've taken a couple measures to quiet it down. One of them, I'm a big proponent of mastic tape, which is basically just rubber on a tape roll, essentially. And I've used it like all over. Like I used it like my locks that are on my cargo boxes on my top. Those would like rattle against my rack. So if I put the mastic tape around it, that just creates this nice rubber surface to dampen it. So with the fridge slide, the ends of the slide part are just kind of plastic. So I added mastic tape at the end where they would potentially hit to dampen that from rattling. And then I bought a roll of what's meant to be like for toolboxes. So it's like a rubber mat, and that also has a damping characteristics, and it's meant for heavy stuff to be on it. So I ordered that's at the same width of my fridge slide, which is 16 inches wide. And so I just kind of cut it to length of the slide box and then have that underneath the fridge. So the fridge doesn't really bounce up and down much, but if you're going over really intense stuff, it might. So that helps quiet that down a bit. So it's pretty quiet now. I think the only thing I can really hear is the stuff inside of the fridge, which obviously that's not the fault of the fridge slide, but it's weird because I have noticed that before on trips, but not as much. I think it's just louder because the carpet that used to be back there, which sort of dampened the reflections of the sound. So now that I don't have that dampening effect of the carpet sort of absorbing the sound, I'm just hearing more of it. So I think my next step is like either figuring out something to make my contents of my fridge a little bit quieter, like maybe put like a towel or something in there just to, take up the space. I did notice that on the way back from the trip, after I drank all the cans of soda and whatnot, it was way quieter. It was mostly just like the cans rattling against each other more than anything else. So
nice. Towel is a great idea. And then also I have cooling mats for the palms because they get really hot for really any reason. They just got a lot of hair. So I keep the cooling mats in the fridge. And so if you have a cooling mat in there, it works just like a towel and it'll just kind of dampen whatever you got. If you have things rolling around.
Cool. Yeah, but otherwise just being able to pull the fridge out, it's just so nice and it's so easy. And it's one of those things that if you don't have it, you don't know what you're missing, which is a good thing, right?
I do not know what I'm missing. I also have more money in my pocket, so there's also that. So we come from a little bit different viewpoints here because I'm a little bit like, well, my fridge is not that big and it works.
True.
And I tie it down in various ways and it just seems to work. So for me, it's okay, but I would rather not know what it's like to have a fridge slide because it sounds expensive.
I haven't looked at the new prices, but I think it was around $400 for mine. So it's definitely not cheap. And I know you can get them cheaper. I think Iceco has their own version of it. And I think back in the day it was like $200. I don't know what it is now. Like I said, it's really not something you need. It's very much a luxury. But if you have a big fridge like mine, like I have a 45 quart, just being able to pull it out is sweet. So,
all right. Well, you can remind me next time I borrow space in your fridge. That I should maybe think about getting my own.
Yeah. Well, only try mine out if you want to be tempted to the dark side.
For sure.
Yeah.
So did you have anything else that you brought specifically for winter camping?
I have something new. I would say it was specifically for winter camping, but I have a new thing that is part of my electrification strategy for my cooking setup. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time. You had suggested on a previous episode about how you have like your warming, like electric warming mug. And I was like,
to boil some tea.
Yeah. And I was like, that would be pretty handy because in my kit, I have a whole like MSR pocket rocket, and then I have to buy the isobutane canisters for that as well. And then you also need the extra pop for that. And then I'm like constantly going through these isobutane canisters, and they also don't work very well in the cold because I guess the
Mm-hmm.
like that butane and the propane kind of separate, and then it just acts all weird in the cold. So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
worthless in the cold. And then also if there's wind, that causes issues. And then sometimes if it's like a really bad fire ban, you can't even use those. So I was like, wow, it would make sense for me to have an electric kettle to replace that whole system. And then I can just hook that up to my power station and run it. So I did some deep diving into different options. And it seemed like the main thing that's out there right now is mostly electric kettles that are meant for tea like yours, where it'll be
Okay.
about 12 ounces capacity at maximum. And then it would have a 300-watt power rating,
Mm.
which is perfectly adequate for tea. But for me, I want to do more than just 12 ounces. And I also may want to do something like a soup or something, right? So I wanted
Mm-hmm.
something that was a little bit more versatile than just that. So I found a company that's called Stoke Voltaics, and I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
How did you
They
find Stoke Voltaics?
they have a cooking system that I heard about on YouTube a while back.
Okay.
So I knew that existed, but I wasn't sure if I go with that once I go full electric. But I'm not sure with that if I'm going to do that over just a cook plate, like induction style. They also
Okay.
offer this thing called the kettle pot, which when you look at it, it kind of looks exactly like a jet boil flash sort of setup where
Mm.
it's got the neoprene wrap around it and it's got stainless steel on the inside. But on the bottom, where the jet boil would have your like connector for the actual stove, this thing just has the electrical componentry down below, which just basically consists of a black box with a button and then 3 settings on it, and then a place where you hook in your AC cable. And it has to be AC because there's no way you can do 500 watts through pure DC. So yeah, you're gonna have to use your AC inverter to be able to run this
Okay.
if you want to do it while camping. But that 500 is great because that means you can get to a boil much faster. I think on average it's like between 6 or 7 minutes, which is slow compared to a jet boil, but very fast compared to any 12 volt. Because if you have a 12-volt kettle, you're only putting it at 100 watts, so it would take you probably half hour or something to get to a boil.
Right.
But yeah, so like at 500 watts and you're doing like 6 minutes, you're talking, I don't know, what's that? That would be like maybe 50 watts spent, something around there to make it happen. And it's really great because you can do it in your car if what you want to. You don't have to worry about weather conditions at all. The cold is fine. The wind is not an issue. And it also has other functions. Like it has 3 modes, which one is drink, which basically it gets up to a boil real fast and it turns itself off. Then it has a eat setting, which is mainly meant for soups, where it'll get up to a boil real fast and then it'll go to a lower wattage for a simmer, essentially. You have to manually turn it off yourself after that. And then it has a pop mode, which is actually for popcorn. And that has kind
Oh,
of a lower level ideal for popcorn. I tried it at home actually. I was just kind of curious about it.
yeah.
And I did it and it totally worked. It wasn't quite as good as me just doing it on my home stove because there were like more on pop kernels than I get at home. But it filled the whole thing. So it doesn't really matter because it filled the whole container's worth of popcorn and it was a full serving for one person. So if you want popcorn while camping, that's a pretty easy way to do it.
Very cool. I'm gonna hit you up for that.
Yeah.
So in the cold, are you worried about your battery? The reason I ask this is because I keep a battery in my car,
Hmm.
one of the larger ones. And I feel like now that it's getting cold, it's not as responsive, or it sometimes won't want to turn on. And I don't know if that's just my battery becoming defective. But for you, when you're winter camping, are you at all worried about your battery not working due to temperatures?
I was worried about it. I looked it up. Like Lifeboat 4, it does have some efficiency drop when you're running at really cold temperatures. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not keeping it outside. I'm keeping my inside my rig, so it's going to be a little
Mm-hmm.
bit warmer in there anyways because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, there's no risk of explosions or anything like that because that was the thing that with motorcycles, lithium batteries are commonly used as a way to save weight. But there's all these stories of like people exploding them like in below freezing temperatures, and I guess it was a different battery chemistry that isn't really used anymore.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about it with LiPo 4. Plus, the battery smart manager built into these systems by the power stations are protect itself anyways. Basically, the biggest concern you should have is that it would just be drawing more power than normal just by being cold. So
Okay.
yeah, that is a concern. Again, I don't do tons of this camping. Like I usually do one camping trip a month during the winter months, so it's not that big of a deal. But what I think is, okay, this thing's pulling 500 watts, right? And I can turn on my car while I'm running it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm getting 220 right now charged from that. So then net, I'd only be using 280. And that's for right now. Once I get up my bigger power station that can accept all 500 watts that can come from my DC to DC inverter, then it'll be net neutral. So if I just run my car while I'm running it, then I'm losing nothing essentially. I think you definitely have to be more aware of what your power's at and what capacity you need, and then when you're going to charge it up and whatnot. For this, like I knew that we were going to be going on an overland drive, on a day trip drive the next day, so I was like, yeah, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I can just burn this, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Although I did end up using more than I expected overnight because I forgot to turn the AC inverter off afterwards. So if you are using this, definitely remember to turn off AC inverter. There is a setting within many power stations where if an AC inverter is not being used, it'll auto turn itself off. So I didn't have that setting on. Now I do.
I don't
So
think I have that on mine. Ooh.
your
Do you know?
EcoFlow definitely will have it.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to just check in there. It has many different gradients. Like I have mine set to 30 minutes now, but it has between 30 minutes all the way up to 24 hours or just never if you just want it to run forever for whatever reason.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think if you were running your fridge off of it, you'd want to have a really long one because the fridge kind of cycles in and off. So might turn itself off forever if it went too long. But yeah, it's a good thing to know for saving. But I'm really happy with it. I think the only like negative I have about it right now is that even with 16 ounces, I wish it was just a little bit more because I have a Nalgene bottle that I use for heating up my sleeping bag before I get into it on these cold winter trips. And
Yeah.
16 ounces is not enough to fully fill that. So I actually had to like pour from the Nalgene into there up to 16 ounces, boil that, and then pour that back into the Nalgenes, and then that water mixed together, and then pour in another 16 and then boil again, which is kind of a pain. So yeah, it wasn't great. The capacity was my biggest issue with it. But otherwise, it worked fantastically.
Yeah, I was also thinking about families too, like what they would use. Probably a bigger system in general.
Yeah.
Unless you're just using this for the kids or something.
Yeah. Well, I think if you have a bigger family, then you just bring out the induction cook plate, assuming they're on electric system, right? And then just, put however big pot they have and get that sucker boiling.
Cool. We're taking a break. It's Melody jumping in to say we're hanging out on Instagram if you want to keep up with the Overland nonsense. And if you're on Apple, Amazon Music, or Spotify, go ahead and download the episode so you don't lose us. All right, back to it. While you guys were out there, did you get to see any cool stuff? Like you were doing runs during the day?
Yeah. On Sunday, Doug and I went out and we didn't really have any big plan. We're just like, oh, let's just explore roads that are open. So we tried one road and we hit a gate immediately. So then
I hate that.
I looked on Onyx actually, because I actually recently was gifted a 1-year elite subscription to Onyx off-road.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I turned that on, and Onyx does a great job of showing which roads are open or which ones are closed. So then I was able to use that to see. I was like, oh, hey, this route is open over here, and it's actually a route that I have been aware of for a while because way back in April 30th of 2022, I tried to take this route from the Hood Canal out to Wynoochee Lake. It was it was supposed to be sort of like a first of the season ride and camp.
Boy, you know what that means? First of the season.
Yeah.
Anytime you say first of the season.
Down trees, deadfall everywhere. Yeah.
Deadfall.
It was so bad.
Get out your chainsaw, bring your most thick metal shovel with you. You are going to be doing some work.
And we definitely did on this. No, you're right. Okay. Like I was looking at the tracks that we did from that 2022 trip, and like it was basically May. It was April 30th. There's just so many like little dead ends where we just stopped. Every one of those dead ends means we tried and just couldn't.
I was going to say, do you actually think about it? Okay, we should try this, or you're like, no, next.
Yeah, well, there was one. I remember the first one we hit. We were like, there was a few down trees, and we brought out the chainsaws and cleared them all out. And then we got 50 feet further, and then there was just like so many more. So now after that, we started like scouting past like the first obstacle to see if it actually does get better and whatnot. And yeah, eventually we just kept hitting them. Soon, like after a while, we're like, okay, if we hit trees, we're just turning around. We're not going to try to take trees out because it's just too much. This requires national forest level giant construction equipment to get this done. We can't trail ferry this on our own.
Yeah.
And so we got as far as a point called Dusk Point,
Mm-hmm.
And that at that point, we realized we weren't going to make it via gravel roads to get to the lakes. We had to turn around and go all the way back to the Hood Canal. And we did eventually camp there at the Wynoochee Lake, but we had to like take the highway and then come back up and whatnot. So it was a pain. And it was one of those ones that sort of you hold on to those failures and you're like, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna experience it, I'm gonna enjoy it. So yeah, this was this opportunity. Like the road we took, it like lands right on the east side of Wynoochee Lake. And it's
Okay.
part of two well-known routes. One of them in the motorcycle world is called the Grip Twister. And then the other
Hmm.
one in the overlanding world is called the Olympic Traverse. And they're both like a full loop around the Olympics, essentially.
Okay, because the Olympics is like a peninsula, so it just goes kind of like in that area. Okay.
Yeah, it basically goes all the way around the national park, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's a well known route and it's beautiful. You're getting up to, I think, 3,300 feet was the highest point. And
Okay.
usually this is not something you can do in the winter. Usually it's so deep under snow that just can't be done. Like I said, when we tried to do it in basically May, we couldn't get up to Dust Point because there's just so much snow up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was wild that in mid-February we were able to do this big loop. It was a 40-mile loop that we did from Wynoochee on this route and then went back to Wynoochee all through gravel roads. And it was great. Like Dust Point, we actually got to, it's not right off the main Forest Service road. It actually is up this trail that is like one of those used to be a road things, but it's no longer maintained. It's clear people have been up there and driven up there, but it was grown over enough just probably from the winter that it seemed real scratchy. Like my rig might have
Okay.
been able to do it, but like Doug's definitely would not have been able to do it. So we actually just parked right at the bottom of it, and Doug and I hiked up to Dust Point, and then it was great because we didn't know what to expect because neither of us had been there, but it was really
Hmm.
open. We had great 360 views, and it was snow up there too, which was kind of fun, but it wasn't deep snow. Like we didn't need snowshoes or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was awesome. And that was also like vindication for me.
Final boss.
Yeah, exactly. And also, this was the easiest snow wheeling trip I've ever done because there was snow up there. And there was clearly like from previous snowfalls, it would have been deep. But because so many people have driven through it, it was almost like cross country skiing where you've got like the little grooves for you. Like the existing tracks were so good that Doug and I didn't even have to air down. Like we were on highway pressure the entire
Wow.
time. Yeah,
Okay.
it was weird.
I was gonna say you guys are brave to just go two of you snow wheeling because it's like you kind of want somebody in the front and the back and then people in the middle
Yeah.
just to help. But yeah,
Well,
that
we saw other cars coming from the opposite direction
okay.
too, so we had high confidence that it was gonna
Okay.
work out. Yeah.
Nice.
Plus, we both have winches on our rigs too, so
Yep,
yeah, we were in a good place for it.
for sure.
Then on the way back, there's actually three different falls around Wynoochee. One of them is like Wynoochee Falls, another one is Maidenhair Falls, and then there's this
Mm.
one that's in the kind of the southeast corner of the lake called Spoon Creek Falls, and that was like right on the route, the loop that we did. Oh, by the way, speaking of this loop, I did take the tracks of it, and that's something I also want to put on our Patreon. So look to that in the future.
Sweet.
But Spoon Creek Falls is cool because it can be an ultra short hike if you want to, or it can be just a slightly longer hike if you want to see them. Because you park like right at the top and you actually go down into it. But there's like a viewpoint that gives you a perfect front on view of the falls, and it's I don't know like 100 feet in or something like that. So if you want to just like quick see it, you can just park at the trailhead, walk 100 feet, and just get this great viewpoint of it. Or you can continue down further, and it's I don't know, it can't be longer than quarter mile to get down to the bottom. And at the
Is
bottom,
it? Oh, sorry. Is it worth it? Do you think it's like on a scale of 1 to 10 for PNW Falls?
yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty sweet. It's a very
Okay.
tall one. It was definitely flowing real hard at this time. I will post
Okay.
pictures on our Instagram of it as well because I took some photos and video.
Nice.
I would say walking down to the bottom during the winter is not worth it because it was flowing so hard. Usually when
Yep.
you're at the bottom, because I've been to this before during the summertime, at the bottom there's like a big pool down there, and you can usually walk right up to basically the waterfall almost, and then see it directly from below. And it's really cool, and it's like a swimming hole for people and whatnot. So in the summer, it's like
Mm.
it's a really cool scene. During the winter, though, because it was flowing so hard, there's a pretty strong river coming from the pool that was then connecting to another river. And so Doug and I couldn't cross it to even see it front on. So we really only saw it from the viewpoint above, not from below.
Got it.
Yeah, but it's worth it even just for the viewpoint, especially because it's just so fast because it's so close to the trailhead. So definitely worth seeing. I have been to the other ones. We didn't hit the other ones on this trip, but the other ones are great too. So if you're a waterfall enthusiast, Wynoochee area is definitely a good place to be.
Cool. Well, thanks for the tip.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the only other thing that I tried to do, so I brought my mountain bike on this trip with the plans of going to the Montesano trails. And I should have done.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah, I should have done them on Saturday just before getting to camp, but because I was so delayed in getting to camp because I was like setting up my rig, I felt kind of bad. So I just went directly to camp instead. But now looking back, I wish I had just gone to it. But my reasoning was that at first I didn't know that Doug was going to stay on Sunday. I thought Doug was heading back on Sunday. So I was like, oh, cool. I'll just go on Sunday to it. But then because Doug had stayed, that's why we did this exploration stuff. I did try to mountain bike because there is a trail that goes alongside Wynoochee Lake's east side. And I've known about it for a while. And on previous trips, I was always like, I need to try that trail. I need to try that trail. So finally, this trip, I was like, this is my time. I'm going to try this trail. Yeah. Unfortunately, it did not go very well.
No.
It would be a really cool trail. Like it would be an awesome, beautiful cross-country trail if it was maintained. But it's just not maintained. So it was just like, I just had to like go through crazy amounts of brush and lift my bikes over deadfall, and it's not worth as a mountain biker anyways doing. I think if you're a hiker, maybe, but even as a hiker, it's pretty grown over.
Pretty hairy.
So yeah, it needs to have a local who wants to really maintain that. So until that exists, I don't think it's worth doing, unfortunately.
Okay.
So that's known as the Wynoochee Lake Shore Trail 878.
Well, you still have your clavicle, so that's good. At least it wasn't in totally terrible time.
Yeah. But to end up on a positive note, this morning, President's Day, we woke up and it was kind of cool, but it wasn't frosted over, which is kind of weird. But then I got a notification on my phone saying that snow's coming and we didn't know what to expect. It turns out it was winter wonderland that happened this morning. It was like big flakes coming down and it was all over and it just transformed the whole area, just like snow covered wonderland. We got to drive through it on the roads. It's like forming this nice little powder, and Doug was having all this fun, like kind of trying to slide his back end out, and it was so cool. So I took a lot of videos and photos of that too, and I'll share that on our Instagram. But that was a unique experience. Yeah,
please do give us some winter spirit.
Yeah. So anyways, that was a lot about my weekend. How about yours, Melody?
Oh boy, not as fruitful. I got a rock through my window, which is really interesting for a lot of reasons, because the 4Runner windows generally are pretty bulletproof. That's why I have a window breaker in my car on both sides, because they are really hard to break. And if you've seen videos on it, it's pretty comical how it is that hard to break, because the windshield is like sugar. The windshield breaks no problem. The tiniest pebble and it's gone, right? However, the very, very back panels that are windows to the cargo area, those are really tiny, but also really easy to break. So someone had perfect aim and they threw the rock right through the center, which is terrible. But honestly, my first thought was, thank goodness for that aim, because none of the metal was touched. Like none of the paint was gone. It was just like a straight shot. And I found the giant rock inside my car. There's glass everywhere.
So this happened when it was like parked in?
Yeah,
like,
it was parked at my building.
Wow.
Yep. It's in like a public garage. And I think it was like 5 or 6 cars also got hit. So it wasn't just me.
I see.
Thankfully.
So somebody was just in a mood for destruction, apparently.
Yeah, they weren't like targeting me or anything, but they were in the mood for destruction, and I've heard they're already in jail. Yeah. I don't know if it ended that well for them, but
they got caught, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Definitely on camera many times. So they were caught. And anyway, so what I wanted to say about that was not only, I mean, it's kind of a bummer, but it can be replaced, right? Like it's an inconvenience, but I have insurance where glass is free. So the other people whose cars got broken into. Basically, they were like, how do you get free glass? And so I have Safeco, so I can give you guys a tip. Safeco does have an insurance policy where you get free glass. And in the PNW, that is great, because if you have a Toyota, the windshields, like I say, break all the time, and getting free glass won't affect your insurance payments if you claim it. And it is literally
Nice.
$0. So if
Wow.
you have any work done on your car, make sure you bring a 6-pack of beer or coffees to them. They are always very thankful. That is my tip of the day. It's really hard work. So I would like to say that if you have anything done to your glass, first, hope you have the right insurance. And then two, Safelite isn't a bad way to go. I know it's like kind of everyone's go-to glass partner, but I just called them up. I told them exactly what I needed. They also have mobile glass repair guys that literally come to your house and they
Oh, nice.
fix your car. Short of it hailing outside, they will do it. And that's also free. So for free, somebody will come to your place, replace your glass, and then you're on your way. It's really not an inconvenience whatsoever. And there's also in the PNW, if you're near Seattle, the other recommendation besides Safelight is, I think it's called All Auto Glass. It's in Auburn. And I
Okay.
actually used to go there before they sold out. It was a couple that owned it and then they sold it. But I think that it's still the same staff and they're amazing. So love that. Again, bring them coffees if it's first thing in the morning, or bring them a 6-pack of beer if it's later in the day, so that you give them a big perk, especially if you're not paying anything. It's a good tip.
Nice. I need to try Safelight again.
Yeah.
I was trying to get a quote once, and at one point it asked like what color the like shade was on the windshield, and I was like, I don't know, I'm colorblind. I have no idea. So I was like, it was like gray, brown, or black. I was like, I don't know. I can't tell by looking at it. So that stopped me right in my tracks, and I hadn't looked up
Oh,
it again.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have to know. They did ask me that. I think that when they select the type of glass, they have to put in the color too.
Interesting.
Yep. They
Well,
were
if they
like,
have
is it
mobile
dark or is it light?
people-
And I was like, it's dark. So,
Yeah. Interesting.
but yeah, I don't know. Do they have like red glass? Is that a thing or?
I don't know. It was like gray, black, or brown. I think it's been a minute. Like my windshield has a massive crack, but it's not in my field of view. It's like below my field of view. And then it's starting to go up the passenger side, but also it's still not bothering me yet. So I'm like, it's a low priority at this point.
Yeah, what I also like about Safelight is because I'm a customer, it just took one phone call and then they already have all my insurance information and they just bill my insurance for me. I didn't even have to call them or make a report or anything.
Nice.
So that was
Yeah.
nice.
I like convenience.
Yeah.
That's a good quality of repair shop.
And so much fun to clean out the glass from the back of your car where you sleep. Oh, it's great.
That just terrifies me if you have
It
an
took a week.
inflatable mattress.
I had to wait for a dry day and then take everything out and do it at the
Yikes.
car wash because they have really strong vacuums there that, got everything out. But I feel like I'm going to be finding it for a long time, unfortunately, even the safety glass. So yeah, that's my tips on car window glass.
Sweet. Well, I think that means it is time for some random recommendations.
Okay.
Would you like me to start them off, Melody?
Please do.
All right. So I have some gloves that I wore. I wear them a lot, actually, for a lot of things. They're called deck shell gloves. I bought them on Amazon, and I'll share the Amazon link through our show notes. They also do have their own website, but I noticed that the pricing was a lot more expensive on their website. They wanted like $45 for them on their website, but it's like $22 on Amazon. So it's a lot cheaper on Amazon.
Oh.
But the reason why I like them, they're waterproof somehow, but they're like knit gloves. And they're nice and warm. And because they're knit, they're very flexible, which is great. And actually received a recommendation from like a bicycle YouTuber. They are great for riding with bikes too, but I've used them for everything. I used them most of this weekend because it was cold, but I also wanted a dexterity of 5-finger gloves. And I was able to like do all my cooking with them, wearing them on, and they're great. They will wear out eventually just because they're knit, but they're $20. So it's just such a win. I think they're actually British too, of all things. So I think that kind of makes sense that they're in a similar environments as we are here. So it works well to have a nice waterproof glove. But yeah, deck shell gloves, highly recommended. You can use them for tons of things. I maybe wouldn't do hard work on them. Like I wouldn't do It's like anything that might have a lot of rubbing action, sawing. If you're sawing something, you might want a leather glove, but for just day-to-day stuff, it's pretty great.
Okay, so not a work glove.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, not a work glove, but a great day-to-day and a recreational activity glove. Because I've also used it for cross-country skiing, for example. So yeah, I find that they're really comfortable around like maybe the 40 to 50 degrees is sort of the sweet spot. If you're actively doing stuff, you can go a little bit colder than that, like I was this weekend. But if you're getting closer to freezing, you might want to go with more of a mitten at that point.
Okay.
And then they're probably above 50 degrees are way too warm and you want something lighter.
Sweet.
That's Fahrenheit for our Celsius friends.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we should clarify that.
Yeah. How about you, Melody? What's your random recommendation?
My random recommendation is going to be a park. I've lived here for a long time, and I didn't know this park existed. It's called, have you heard of it? Chambers Bay.
I feel like I have. Is there a golf course there? I feel like I've heard it.
Yeah, there's a golf course there.
That's why I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. I don't play golf. I guess maybe this is why I haven't heard of it.
I don't either, but my brother does, and he lived in Seattle for a while, so he would go to Chambers Bay. Yeah.
It is gorgeous. Oh my goodness. So this is by Tacoma. I would highly recommend this place. There is a beach called Chambers Bay Beach, and it is a very long walk that is just incredible. You have sweeping views the whole time. However, when you park, you have to walk down like a pretty steep grade all the way down to the beach. I want to say it's maybe a mile from the car to the beach. And then they have this beautiful bridge. It is really so nice for a public space. It's a great place to spend the day or watch the sunset. And yeah, I loved it. However, great. Do you want a hot tip for this park?
I do.
It's not golf related. I don't know anything about the golfing.
Neither do I. It's
fine. But if you like to bring a lot of stuff down to the beach, let's say you like brought your wagon and you hiked it down, in order to avoid dragging all of your things back up, I did see cars driving down to the temporary parking that is closer to the beach at night to swoop people to bring them back up.
Nice. Shuttle system going on there.
So if you can get your shuttle friends to help you out, that would probably be the best way to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll have to check that out sometime. I do love a good park. We have some solid ones in Seattle. So if it's on the level of a Discovery Park, then that's something.
And it's dog friendly.
So. I love that. But if you have a dog that likes being in the public around other dogs, it sounds great.
Fair enough.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that is the close of this episode. Glad to hear that it's a bit of winter, but we have things going on. So I'm happy to share that with our lovely listeners. And yeah, look forward to hearing more about our Patreon as we build that out. Melody, do you have any closing thoughts for the episode?
Oh, I don't. Do you have any for this time?
Yeah, I think if you are going to do some winter camping, if you haven't done it before, definitely make it a one-nighter just to kind of get a feel for things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so do a little test. Maybe even just do it somewhere nearby. Go to a nearby camp, not dispersed camping, but like an established park if it's open during the winter, and give that a shot. So if you do find that something's gone wrong, like, oh, my stove doesn't work in below freezing temperatures because it's not meant to, then you're nearby for other solutions in town or something like that if you need to. So that'd be my tip.
That's a good one. Thanks.
Sure thing. And with that, we will call it a wrap.
If you want to get in touch with us by email, let us know what you think. remotetrailsradio@gmail.com.
RTR, over and out.